You're listening to The Sports Moment, February 1st, 2024. Part of the Sports Moments and Memories with Craig Olson podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe so you never miss a sports moment. Sponsored by Pemberton Law and Lake Area Docks and Lifts.
Hey, welcome to the podcast, and Jana Grunwald's going to have to wait a couple more days before taking over as the all-time scoring leader for the Lady Spartans in the history of the program. She went into last night's game needing 18 points to tie Pam Letting at 1,006 career points. She wound up with 11 points in the game against Minnesota West, so she is 7 points away from tying Pam Letting and 1 point away from becoming just the second Lady Spartan in the history of the program to score 1,000 points. She did surpass Lori Rickard and take over the number 2 spot in the all-time scoring list in the game last night against Minnesota West. And the Lady Spartans, who won at Minnesota West earlier this year, lost by a score of 64-47 in the game at home last night. They ran into a pretty hot Olivia Hyanga, who had 26 points and 20 rebounds to lead Minnesota West to the victory. Spartans' downfall came in the second quarter when they made only 2 of 16 shots from the floor and were outscored 15-4 in that quarter. Minnesota West was able to take a 34-20 lead and really never looked back after that. So good win for Minnesota West, avenging an earlier loss to the Spartans. That also started the second time around in the South Division schedule. Everybody plays home and home in the MCAC South. And when you look at the standings right now, after that loss, the Spartans are 4-3 in the division, but they're still in good shape. They're still in the top 4 in the conference standings, and the top 4 at the end of the season will be in the state tournament. Now, the Spartan men got a win last night. They had won by 20 down in Worthington back on the 3rd of January. Last night wasn't as easy. They led by 18 in the first half and by 15 at halftime, but Minnesota West would not go away. They were down to the last 8 minutes or so and within 7 points of M-State at that time, but the Spartans were able to hold on and get an 8-point victory, 71-63. Javen Tyndall had 18 to lead the way, and Kamani Steckler just missed a double-double. He had 10 rebounds and wound up with 9 points. Tyson MacArthur had 9 boards, and Belinda Alamati dished out a team-high 5 assists. Spartans win the game 71-63. Now, they are creeping back into the playoff picture as well. They were a game out going into last night, but Anoka Ramsey got beat, so both Anoka Ramsey and M-State are sitting at 4-4. So is Ridgewater, because it was Ridgewater that upset Anoka Ramsey to go to 4-4. So you've got those 3 teams at 4-4, all tied for the final playoff spot in the MCAC Southern Division. So big games coming up on Saturday at Riverland down in Austin. That's the next action for the Spartan basketball teams. Pemberton Law Firm is one of our sponsors of our podcast. We appreciate their assistance in bringing this to you, and they have offices to assist you in Fergus Falls, Wadena, Detroit Lakes, and Alexandria. And of course, you can visit them online also at pemlaw.com. Pemberton Law carries a legacy of trustworthy and reputable legal representation dating back to 1883. Well, Wednesday night was a light night with just the Spartan basketball doubleheader at the college. But Tuesday we were talking about the outstanding performance by the Otter Nordic ski team on Tuesday with their second-place finishes on both the boys and the girls' side at the Central Lakes Conference Championship meet. And we were going to look at that a little more in depth here and look forward to next week's section competition as well. I had a chance to visit with Josh Scharnberg about a number of things, and the girls' team had an outstanding performance from their sprint relay team as Cassie Wellman anchored Allie Bradenberg on that team, and that duo placed first by nearly 12 seconds over Brainerd. And I talked to Josh about that victory, and yeah, it was that 12 seconds doesn't sound like a lot, but that's a pretty good separation between the champion team and the second place team.
Yeah, especially in this sport where usually the races are close, that is a pretty decent gap between them and Brainerd, and so a lot of kudos to those girls. Allie was the lead and Cassie was the anchor. Allie usually prefers a course where she can double pole and power through it, and Cassie was kind of the hero of the day here. She this course plays to her with the big climbs and striding and running up the hills, and but as a team they pulled it together and made it work, and we're just super proud of them and excited for them.
And as far as the pursuit team, represented by Este Versteeg and Alexis Wellman, Hannah Scharnberg, Naomi Doomer, Violet McCann, Olivia Swanson, and Aaliyah Mosier, they really had a good day as well. And one of the reasons they've been so successful is they push each other throughout practice.
Yeah, that's right. And it's true what you say. They're pushing each other, especially Este and Alexis. They seem to flip-flop every other race, and then today we've got Hannah Scharnberg and Violet McCann who were mixing it up. Violet had her first race scoring today, and Hannah placed well. As she also was up there in the top 20 at 17th place, and even though she doesn't score, I mean, it's huge. Our last race came down to that 4th position, and so just having all our girls being competitive is going to play to our advantage once we get to sections next week.
Great performances by the girls cross-country ski team for Fergus Falls as they finished second in the Central Lakes Conference Championship meet on Tuesday at Powder Ridge. One of the things that really has been a challenge for all skiers in the state of Minnesota is the snow conditions or lack of snow conditions. And the snow conditions at Powder Ridge on Tuesday, well, slushy, sloppy, and, well, Josh, just plain tough.
It was we're all on man-made snow at the base of a ski hill, and the day started off fine with the classic races. The tracks held up pretty well, but once you got a couple races in with skating, it's literally, the course looks like mashed potatoes, and it feels like skiing in it as well. So it's extremely challenging, but also we're probably going to be looking at these conditions next week. Warm weather continues, and so we're just counting it as practice for sections.
Well, having said that about the conditions, didn't bother David Aronovic. David was the individual champion, winning the pursuit race and leading Fergus Falls to that second place finish. And I asked Scharnberg if there was any kind of condition, snow condition, weather condition that could slow down David Aronovic.
Yeah, he just seems so unstoppable right now. He's just strong and confident and skiing so well. But this season as well, I mean, he's just worked on the mental fortitude as well. He just has this level head about him. And even though he is skiing well, he still stays humble and knows that he has to ski hard against these, especially the Brainerd kids. And he's just been toughing it out and hanging in there.
Yeah, so that Otter pursuit team led by David, Jackson Lisney, Micah Mosier, Logan Bradenberg, Eric Swanson, Noah Schlosser, Braden Booker, and Clayton Peppel did a great job getting second place. Jackson Lisney and Micah Mosier were 8th and 9th, respectively, all-conference honorable mention. And Logan Bradenberg barely missed the top 10. He finished 11th. That's all-conference honorable mention at large. Now, in the sprint relay event, some confusion. Tommy Erickson anchored for Jaden Miller on that relay team. And Josh said it's a long story, but the boys frustratingly finished in 3rd place after a snafu in the heats, and he explained that to us.
A little bit of a mix-up. It really kind of came down to the volunteers at the start line, and I'm not talking bad about them. It was just a little bit frustrating, but there was a smaller amount of sprint relay teams that entered, and it was supposed to be just one heat of boys skiing, and somehow they left out one of the Brainerd sprint teams. And so, so anyways, our boys thought they had second place locked in and backed off a little bit on finishing, and then here the Brainerd second team just raced themselves. Had a really good time, and based off of time, Brainerd took first and second place, knocked our boys into third. So, it's a little bit frustrating, but after a talk with other coaches, we kind of hashed it out, and they were willing to, we couldn't do anything about the times, but they were at least willing to give our boys honorable mention.
So the Otter Nordic ski team comes off a pair of second-place finishes at the Central Lakes Conference Championship meet. They are certainly on top of their game right now. And with that success at Powder Ridge Tuesday, what are the goals heading into next week's section meet on Monday and Wednesday at Giants Ridge in Biwabik?
As you can see outside, the snow is pretty much gone, and we're probably not going to get any more practices in on skis here this week. But, as they say, it's a little bit cliche, but the money's in the bank. These kids have worked really hard this season, and we'll probably just get a couple of good, strong dryland practices here today or tomorrow and Thursday, and Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we'll back off so we can get some sore muscles to heal, get some food into the kids, some hydration, and just get together and talk positive, probably have a meal together and plan strategies for Monday. And it's gonna it's just gonna be a really good meet, Craig.
Head coach Josh Scharnberg of the Otter Nordic ski team as they get ready for the biggest meet of the year, the meet that qualifies individuals and teams for state at Giants Ridge Monday and Wednesday, the Section 8 Nordic ski cross-country meet. So looking forward to seeing how the Otters compete in that competition. Want to thank Lake Area Docks and Lifts for being a sponsor of our podcast. They serve you from 5 different locations in the Lakes region. They had great showings at Fargo Dome and the Minneapolis Convention Center when they had their booth at the boat shows at both of those locations earlier this month in January. Actually, we're in February now. Earlier in January. Now that we've turned the calendar to February, can't you just feel it? We're getting closer. It feels like spring right now weather-wise, but won't be long. You'll be out on the lakes. And Lake Area Docks and Lifts can help equip you for that summertime fun. Well, the Minnesota Timberwolves were victorious last night. They faced a Dallas Mavericks team that has really been hurting, and they were without Luka Doncic and without Kyrie Irving. They were both out, sat for the same game for the third time this season, and the Mavericks have lost all 3 when they haven't played. And the Mavericks have had to play without at least one of their superstars 26 times in their 48 games. Hard to get that consistency of production when you're missing your top players as much as they have been. Well, last night, Karl Anthony Towns had 29 points and 9 rebounds. Rudy Gobert scored 17, and the Wolves won 121-87 over the Mavericks. So they are now 34-14. Oklahoma City and Denver, the top pursuers in the Western Conference, played each other last night, and OKC won on their home court 105-100. So when the dust had settled after last night's action, Minnesota leads Oklahoma City by a game and Denver by a game and a half in the West. Timberwolves will be in action on Friday. They host Orlando in that game. And Iowa superstar Caitlin Clark added to her growing collection of milestones last night at Northwestern, moving into second place on the NCAA women's all-time scoring list during the Hawkeyes' 110-74 win. She also overtook Kelsey Mitchell as the Big Ten's all-time leading scorer, and she's only 103 points behind Washington's Kelsey Plum to overtake her as the NCAA's all-time scoring leader in women's basketball. What a career she has had at Iowa. And the coaching carousel in the NFL continues. The Seahawks have hired Baltimore Ravens defensive coordinator Mike McDonald as their next head coach. He is receiving a 6-year contract And McDonald at 36 becomes the NFL's youngest head coach. And that's quite a switch from the oldest head coach, Pete Carroll, who he is replacing. Carroll was 72. McDonald is 36. He is 16 months younger than Jared Mayo, who was hired by the New England Patriots early in January to succeed Bill Belichick in that position. Well, we thank you for joining us for our podcast on this first day of February. I hope you'll stop back tomorrow. Have a great day.
You've been listening to The Sports Moment with Craig Olson, sponsored by Pemberton Law and Lake Area Docks and Lifts. Produced by Sunroom Lab. Music by Blue Red Roses. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and thanks for listening.